Hi guys, Marvin here from TechBroll.com, where we do unboxings, reviews, and sexy builds. And today we're taking a look at the latest box switch from Kailh, which is the extremely lightweight 35 grams box thread switch. It has all the characteristics of the popular box switch design but with some minor changes. With that said, let's get into it. Alright guys, I have here the packaging for the latest Kailh box thread switches. I don't know if this kind of packaging is available for individual consumers, but Kailh sent me this very nice packaging right here. So let's see what comes in the package. Well, of course, that would be the switches. I hope this kind of packaging would actually be available for the public because it looks really nice. So we have a plastic protection right here, pretty cool. And underneath it, we have the latest box thread switches. And I think what Kailh sent me is good enough for at least a 10 keyless keyboard. So looking closer on this switch, as you can see, the colors are very different compared to the standard box thread switch because this one has a white stem with a red bottom housing, and in my opinion, it looks really good. I like the reverse color combination of red and white. Looking around the switch, everything seems to be pretty similar in terms of design compared to the standard red switch, but later I will tear this apart so that we can have a better idea about its construction. One thing I've noticed here is that the bottom housing is completely shut, which I think is a good decision. We'll discuss deeper on that later. So yeah, aside from that, I don't see any obvious difference of this switch from the standard or previous generation box switches from Kailh. The highlight though, in my opinion, is of course the extremely lightweight actuation force of only 35 grams. And as per my quick first impressions here, it's definitely lightweight, and I'm very interested to try this out on a complete keyboard. So later, I will install this on one of my hot swappable boards here. We're also going to compare this with the Cherry MX thread and of course the standard box thread switch later. By the way, if you haven't watched my video about this Kailh switch tester, you can check it out here, so that you can have an idea about the construction of the switches because I actually tore them all apart on that video and it's quite interesting. Alright, so let's take a quick look at the differences between the standard box thread switch and the latest lightweight box thread switch right here. So like I said, the colorway of the new lightweight box thread switch is essentially the reverse of the standard one. But overall, in terms of the design, they are pretty much the same except again on the bottom housing, with the new lightweight box thread having a completely closed bottom housing. In terms of the actuation force, the standard box thread switch has an actuation force of 45 grams, which in my opinion already pretty lightweight. But the new box thread switch took it a step further with only 35 grams. As for the feel, I don't know, but something tells me that the new box thread switch is a tad scratchier than the standard one, especially if you press them slowly. Both these switches, and I think I can probably say the same with other box switches, are a little scratchy, and I think that's just the nature of having a lot more plastic getting in contact with each other. With that said, they are still way smoother than Cherry MX thread, like night and day. More on that later though. The good thing here with the new design of the lightweight box thread switch is that I think it is now possible to lube them without much issue because the bottom housing is now completely closed. It will probably still take a lot of effort though because of the amount of surface area you have to work on, not to mention it is very difficult to open Kailh switches without a proper tool. Now let's do a quick comparison between the Cherry MX thread, the standard box thread, and the new lightweight box thread. In terms of feel, the Cherry MX thread is the scratchiest, followed by the lightweight box thread and then the standard box thread. The difference between the scratchiness of Cherry MX and the two box thread are quite significant, like the Cherry MX thread is really scratchy. Now in terms of the actuation, the Cherry MX thread seems to be slightly heavier than the two box threads, with the new box thread of course being the lightest. Now in terms of sound, I'd say the Cherry MX thread is quieter than the two box switches, most probably because of its different black top housing that is known to be much more quieter than a clear top housing. I also have to say that the new lightweight box thread switch has a harsher bottoming out sound than the standard box thread, but it's not that noticeable unless you really put more attention to it. And now to get a better understanding of what I'm talking about, here's a quick sound test for these three switches. Okay, now as promised, let's tear this switch apart. So what exactly makes the Kailh box switch unique, especially for those of you who are not yet familiar? Well, box switches are specifically made for durability. It is dust and moisture resistant, so in theory, it should last a little longer than a standard switch. And there are a lot of potential use case scenarios for this, especially for environments that are not very ideal. But how exactly are they constructed? So first we have the clear top housing here, and then we have the box stem right here. As you can see, the part where it touches the switch is linear without any tactile bump. Next, we have the 35-gram spring and the red bottom housing. And like the regular box thread, it also has some pre-applied lube on the green part that I usually call button, because that's exactly what it is. It is a button that actuates the switch inside. And as you can see, the part where the metal leaf is also covered for protection. And that's how a Kailh box switch is constructed. Pretty interesting, right? Alright guys, moving on, let's install the switches on the GK64 hot swappable board so that we can discuss more about its feel and overall performance and use case scenarios. By the way, watch out for my review of this keyboard right after this Kailh switch review. So subscribe so you won't miss out. And huge thanks to Banggood.com by the way for providing this keyboard. I leave a link below if you're interested on this. Now the good thing about hot swappable keyboards like this is that you have the freedom to try different switches without having to desolder and soldering them. This is actually good for budding enthusiasts like me that's still trying to figure out their endgame mechanical switch basing from their own personal preference. Alright guys, there you have it. We now have the new lightweight 35 grams box thread switches installed on the GK64 aluminum version. It's actually perfect with the colorway of this keyboard with some red accents. But before we discuss about my overall experience with the switches, here's a quick sound test so that you can have an idea of how the new Kailh box thread sounds on the GK64 aluminum version keyboard. So now the question is, who is this switch for? Well, if you know me, I always say that I'm not a fan of red switches because I always make mistakes due to its very sensitive lightweight actuation. And obviously my preference stays the same about these new 35 grams box threads. However, it doesn't mean that it should be the same case with you, because each and every one of us has their own personal preference when it comes to mechanical keyboard switches, how they feel, how they sound and whatnot, and that we should not push our preference to the face of others. I mean, we can always give our opinion and all that, but we never should force others to like what we like, right? We can always agree to disagree. But to answer that question, in my opinion, this is good for those people who are really adept when it comes to touch typing, because I believe these lightweight switches will enable them to type much more faster than usual. Now for gaming, I guess that would depend on the specific type of game and of course your skill level. For instance, I tried using this keyboard for fast-paced reaction type of game like Osu, and please bear with me by the way, because this is my first time trying out this game. And I actually find it fun playing this game using these lightweight switches because it doesn't get in the way of your quick responses. Like there's no tactile bump nor clicky feedback, and it just feels really easy to press and not that fatiguing over time compared to let's say a clicky blue switch. Another game that I find it fun as well to use this switch on is of course FPS games like CSGO. It's super easy to press the keys and you're always going to bottom out the keys anyways. But I think it could have been better if they made this switch with reduced travel and actuation distance as well, so that it could be the box switch version of the Kailh Speed Silver. Because the Kailh Speed Silver is close enough at 40 grams of actuation force, only faster in terms of travel distance and actuation point. But maybe they already have a plan for that. So to conclude, the new Kailh box thread lightweight switch is definitely interesting, not for everyone for sure, but it certainly has its own target market. So if you're looking for a very lightweight switch that's also well protected from dust and moisture, then this is probably your only option, at least for now. I really like how Kailh keeps on innovating when it comes to switches, not only for mechanical keyboards by the way, as they are also manufacturing different switches. They actually also sent me a couple of their micro switches for a gaming mouse, so watch out for that video as well. I think I will use that on my Rack Captain to replace its water switches, but that's a story for another day. By the way, I'm also planning on reviewing the new Everglide Crystal Violet tactile switch, but let me know in the comments below if you would be interested in that. And there you have it guys, thank you for watching. Make sure to check the full article link below. Huge thanks to Kailh for providing these switches and for their continued support to my channel. Thank you for watching, subscribe if you like this, and don't forget to subscribe to our second Tagalog channel. See you next time, have a great day.